Welcome back to Friar Talk, everybody. Today we got some trade rumors to talk about. We're not going to be talking about the Padres today. Chase and I will probably try to talk about them later on in the week. Little bit of a frustrating series, especially this Cardinals one. So instead, we're going to be talking about some trade rumors that just popped up as the Padres were kind of winning a game really ugly. Kind of like it just felt like, oh God, this is
That was
bad.
an ugly win.
It just the offense is not hitting well. All that stuff happens, and then you see, okay, well, amid the offensive struggles, a trade pops up that the Padres may potentially be trading for the best contact hitter in the sport in Luis Arraez. You get some Jesus Luzardo potential trade rumors, and it's basically the Padres and the Marlins are in trade talks or have been in trade talks. I've talked about it for a while. With guys we've discussed a lot. We've talked about Arraez. There was the rumors when he was on the Twins that AJ Preller was after him, and then with Luzardo, I mean, I honestly don't know if there's ever been like true Luzardo trade comments, but we always talk about him, Isaac, like all the time. We've talked about him. Chase loves him. Obviously not on today, but he's a big Luzardo fan. He's talked about trading him for like the last like 2-3 years. So yeah, those are the big names. We're also going to talk about someone that we think is on the Marlins that we think is a better trade option than either of these guys, just from a price point standpoint. But you see the rumors, they pop up. Isaac, what are your just initial takeaways from this stuff, and how big of a chance do you have for anything going down? Really, like what are you thinking about?
My initial takeaway is first off, I'm in my sick ass poncho. That's the only thing that came out of Tuesday night's loss. The only good thing that came out of Tuesday night's loss. So thank you for the poncho, Grupner, whoever the hell made this idea, because 5-2 loss was not pleasant to see. It was horrible. Anyway, I think what this shows about the Padres and AJ Preller in general is how desperate they are. How desperate, especially AJ Preller is. Got to remember, this is a guy that has had about 9 or 10 years to build a contender now up to this point. Has one NLCS appearance. That's the only playoff appearance. Sure, you can count 2020. I don't count 2020. One playoff appearance. It ended up being a really good run. Other than that, it's been a lot of mediocrity or really poor seasons. And it's been a lot of disappointment after a lot of disappointment. In that same time span, he's had arguably the most disappointing season in franchise history and the biggest collapse, one of the biggest collapses in MLB history. There's a lot of things that stack up against AJ Preller. The only thing he has going for him is that he beat the Dodgers, and that's really it. So you look at it and you see 9 games into the season, we already got trade rumors. And you see over the offseason, the last 1 or 2 off seasons, that AJ Preller has been trying to get Luis Arraez for a minute now, right? And so things show that this guy's desperate. I think now more than ever, he knows he's fighting for his job, right? And that was the first thing that kind of came to mind. Not only that, but the fact that the Padres don't have that much money to spend. They just gave up a lot of prospects for Dylan Cease. So I wasn't exactly sure how a Luzardo. It seemed like a lot of people thought Luzardo and Arraez was on the table. I think it's one or the other. It's either or. It's not both. It's more likely that we see what we posted on Twitter, Jesus, and quite frankly, the trade that I think helps the Padres more, Jesus Luzardo and Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott helping the Padres, which we're only 9 games in, remember that, but let's talk about how horrendous the Padres bullpen has looked. They are less than 0.1 points away from being the worst bullpen in baseball. Each time they come in, it seems like almost each time they've come in, they've allowed a run, if not more. So it's not a bullpen that you're reliant on right now. And if you look at Tanner Scott's season last year, he was absolutely dirty. You look at his baseball savant, maybe Matt will pull it up right now, but nothing but red, 2.51 ERA, quietly one of the best, probably one of the top 5, top 10 relievers in all of baseball. Just a guy that I don't think I mentioned enough, but was probably right there with Josh Hader as in one of the best lefty arms in all of baseball. So a guy that I think would be super beneficial for the Padres, even if you don't get, it's beautiful. Even if you don't get Luzardo or Arraez, getting Tanner Scott for like Dylan Head or something like that would absolutely do wonders for this bullpen because it is significantly struggling right now. I mean, you saw today in today's game, Robert Suarez had to go 5 outs. He had to do a 5-out save. Josh Hader never did that, mind you. But he had to do a 5-out save, and it's like it didn't feel like the Padres were confident enough in one of the other arms to go out there and get those 2 outs in the 8th. Because they weren't. Why would they be? Yuki Matsui walked or hit by pitch, the bases loaded the day before. Wandy Peralta didn't do anything great the day before, and he pitched horribly today. De Los Santos hasn't really shown anything great. Kolek sucks. Cosgrove pitched earlier that game. I mean, all the arms that were available, none of them were better. Not only were they not better than Suarez, but they just weren't that reliable. And Matsui pitched the day before and didn't look good already. So you desperately need a guy that's going to come in and give you some really good outings when you need them. It's going to essentially, when he comes in, he's not going to allow a run. Throwing a 4-seam fastball on a slider. I'm pretty sure he throws pretty hard, but the slider's filthy. This is a guy that I want in the Padres bullpen. So I think if anyone on the Marlins can benefit the Padres, I think it's Tanner Scott, right? And then you look at, hey, well, what money do the Padres have to spend? They apparently don't want to go into the luxury tax bracket. Well, they only have $15 million to spend according to Fangraphs. $14 or $15 million to spend. If you trade for Arraez, you only have 5 left. You're probably not getting anything noteworthy. Sorry, let me fix this light. You're probably not getting anything noteworthy for $5 million, right? Maybe nothing that can help you too much. You're probably getting something similar along the lines of like Brandon Drury, which, that helped. But who knows if you can even get something like that. You get Luzardo and Scott. That's $10 million, around 10 or 11 million. If you get just Luzardo, 5.7. If you get just Scott, 5.5. You still got 10 million to spend. So there's a lot of things that come to mind for this trade. You think about the 5th spot right now, you're giving up games by allowing Matt Waldron or Johnny Brito to go out there and pitch quality innings that, again, I'm not the type that wants to see even the 5th starter give up any type of games. I don't want any W's to be given up. I think every game counts. I think after last year, there is a sense of urgency in my book. Which is why I'm already frustrated 9 games in. But I think the first thing that comes to mind is that AJ Preller is fighting for his job.
Yeah, maybe some people are probably thinking like, dude, no, he's not. Like, you're overreacting. He has to be fighting for his job because the guy that was banging the table for him over and over again was Peter Seidler, and this is year 11. I know he took over. I want to say he took over partway in 2014. I want to say, but this is season 11 that he's been running the show basically. And you're right. Like what has he done? You said you don't count the 60-game season. People that like AJ Preller are probably like, you have to count that, but I don't know if you guys remember, but Chris Paddock was the one in the playoffs. And then we threw it was just like bad. It was just awful. We had a bullpen game in game 3. So considering that the Padres seasons have always ended where, you ran out of starters, this year it's not different. So I think Luzardo makes a lot of sense. I think they all make sense. Like, just like looking at it, like, okay, who could you go and trade for? Like, okay, you really need a lefty bat. Arraez is a monster. You really need a lefty starter. Luzardo has 3 years of control, makes $5 million. And you really need a bullpen arm. And Tanner Scott is an absolute beast, and he makes like $5 million too. Like, they make a little over 5. So, and I started to pull these up earlier, but then we started talking about Scott, and I wanted to show his baseball savant. But these were the 2 trades we were talking about. And like, look, you guys are probably going to look at this and be like, dude, this is so much. Like, they're trading so much. This isn't that crazy because Luzardo has 3 years of control. And I'm guessing that it's probably going to be similar to a Dylan Cease trade, right? That's what I'm thinking. Tanner Scott is a reliever, but he's a damn good reliever. And I'm throwing in Wandy Peralta or Kolek or whatever because you're going to cut back on some money or whatever that is. Dylan Head is pretty similar for Tanner Scott's value. Maybe Dylan Head's a little too much because he is a reliever, but I don't think that's that crazy. I think the Padres don't have a lot of guys. They just kind of traded the guys that are in the range where it's like, oh yeah, you might trade them. Like, you just moved a lot of guys like that. So maybe Wandy Peralta's maybe Wandy Peralta in the pen, like maybe Vasquez, right? Like, maybe there's some guys like that, Lizarraga here, but like, it's going to be either one of Robbie Snelling or Dylan Lesko or both of them. And the reason that we kind of have it like this too, like, this is what Isaac was like, I think this is like the absolute limit that we could see it right here. And this is what I said is like, it's probably like all you want to accept if you're the Padres. That's what our thought process was. But I said Snelling, Lizarraga, Dylan Head, Matt Waldron, and Wandy Peralta. Isaac said both Snelling and Lesko, Dylan Head, and then Kolek, right? Like that's a lot, man. Like it is a lot, but like what the Marlins might just say, like, that's all we want to do. We don't want to move Luzardo because they're not as inclined to move Luzardo. So then you look at Luis Arraez, right? Okay, well if Arraez comes like into the show, he's gonna cost a lot less. I want to say his contract's like 10 million right now, and I believe he has control for next year as well. So he's not gonna cost nearly as much, but we've talked about it over and over. There's Brandon Belt as a left-handed bat on the market. That's kind of kind of a similar situation because I don't know if everyone knows this, but Luis Arraez is an awful, awful defender. Like he's really, really bad. Now, what I could see the Padres doing is going and getting him, having him DH and play left field. That's what I honestly think they could do. And they could just have him plug in and play left field. He hasn't played left field since 21, I want to say. It was 2020 or 2021. He was probably better at left field, though, than he is at second base, to be honest. And left field is by far and away the easiest outfield position to play at Petco. It's not a hard outfield. It's very short. But still, like you'd rather have him as a DH. Okay, if you're gonna have DH, you might want to go Brandon Belt. It's a little weird. They're all a little weird, and that's why it comes back to what Isaac said. He likes Tanner Scott because Tanner Scott makes the most sense. He's the biggest need. He's not going to cost a ton. But at the same time, I still could see a trade where it is Luzardo or Arraez. Definitely not both of them. They're not gonna unload the farm on both of them. But either of those players definitely helps the Padres. Up to this point, the Padres lineup has been pretty solid, and honestly, Manny and X have really struggled. But I think Luzardo is clearly the most like valuable asset. But I think Tanner Scott makes the most sense, and you're not gonna have to trade nearly as much. And that might end up being the trade that actually happens because they're talking about that the Marlins are gonna be early sellers. Dude, they're gonna trade Tanner Scott. That's one that they're definitely gonna trade. Luzardo, maybe, maybe not. Arraez, maybe. He's probably just kind of a weird kind of player for that. I would recommend going after Brandon Belt. I think that makes more sense, but it's a weird situation. So I don't really know. The problem for Arraez is like you don't really know he's gonna play, and if you're trading for a DH, that's kind of like, really? Like that's what the move is that we're gonna make. If you're gonna trade a lot, you don't really want him to DH. So I don't know. What's your thoughts on? Because you didn't really bring up Arraez too much, but that's kind of my overall thought on what these trades would just look like, right?
No, yeah, for sure. And when you look at those trades, if you can pull them up one more time, Matt, that'd be great. You kind of see like these guys. I understand it's like kind of mortgaging the future, like giving away the future, but think about it like this: we're already starting to see a decline in Xander Bogaerts. Manny Machado is only getting older. Fernando Tatis is only getting older. Darvish is only getting older. Musgrove is only getting older. Our windows within the next 2 to 4 years, I would say. If Robbie Snelling, Victor Lizarraga, Dylan Head, Matt Waldron already sucks. Wandy Peralta, he's already all right. Stephen Kolek already looks terrible. Dylan Head, Dylan Lesko. If none of them pan out, and then your window's gone, these $300 million contracts were for nothing. All this money that Peter Seidler wanted to invest in the team are for nothing. All the season tickets that you guys are buying are for nothing. All these jerseys you guys are buying are for nothing. The consistent sellouts, despite it being a Tuesday night on a school night, are for nothing. Everything just ends up being for nothing because they didn't come away with a World Series. Hell, they might not even come away with multiple playoff appearances. They might not even go to a World Series if you don't capitalize now. That's why, and look, I understand, and I think when it comes to the three on the show, Chase is like, I want to keep guys that are prospects because we need to start getting good at developing prospects. And I completely agree. We need to start getting good at developing prospects. It'll hinder the Padres if they don't get good at that. Matt is more like in the middle. He's okay with trading prospects if it's for the right guy, but he also understands like we have to have prospects. We have to have some rebuilding the farm is important. Having a good farm is important. So that way for the future, we'll be good. Me, I'm on the other side of Chase. I don't give a damn about prospects. I could trade them for whoever, as long as that guy is going to bring instant value and be good to the Padres right now. That's all I care about. And that's my thinking right now. When I'm thinking, hey, Snelling, Lesko, Head, and Kolek can go. I'm okay as long as we get Luzardo and Tanner Scott because I want to win right now. I want the Padres to go out and help Manny and Xander and Jake all get to the playoffs. Those three guys right there alone are all above their 30s or in their 30s. Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish are as well. 5 of your best players are in their 30s already. One of them is 24, 25, so he's still pretty young. But again, your window's right now. So if you can get a guy that's around a 3.5 ERA as a lefty into your fifth starter, and then one of the best closers in baseball from last year, you're looking pretty damn good. You're looking loaded for the playoffs. That suddenly turns into 88, 90 win, in my opinion, in like an 88 win team that can get a fifth or a sixth spot. And yeah, maybe the lineup still won't be that good. Maybe you'll probably still be trotting out some bums. Don't get me wrong, but again, like the thing that really entices me with Arraez is that the lefty bat that we're missing is Arraez, right? You like Tyler Wade's not good. Jackson Merrill's young. Graham Pauley's young. Eggy Rosario's a righty bat. Jerickson Profar is off to a good start, but we know his ceiling is like a 730 OPS, something like that, right? So the lefty bat that we're missing is a potential silver slugger, a batting champion from last year. And the only problem is that he cost $10.6 million. And Matt, you were right. I checked the article. The only realistic way to get him is by trading Jake Cronenworth or Ha-seong Kim. And then you think about it, why? I mean, you'd have to pull off multiple trades, right? Because Ha-seong Kim, why would the Marlins take Ha-seong Kim? This is his last year of control, or maybe next year is the last year of control. He doesn't fit the rebuild. Jake Cronenworth probably doesn't fit that rebuild. So you'd have to pull off multiple trades in order to do this. So I don't know, man. I like Arraez a lot. I love the thought of Arraez in that lineup, batting second or whatever it is. But realistically, in order of need, it would probably go Tanner Scott 1, because the Padres bullpen looks very uninspiring at this moment. And I think Luzardo and Arraez are kind of similar in needs. I mean, I don't know. Right now, you're giving away every fifth game with throwing either Waldron or Brito every fifth game, and you're also giving up outs by letting Tyler Wade or not Graham Pauley. I think Graham Pauley is all right. I think he's better than Tyler Wade, but by letting these guys get in the lineup and then you're replacing them with a batting champion, that's a huge upgrade. So, what package would be cheaper? Arraez and Scott. Who would be the cheapest? Scott. The most expensive package? Luzardo and Scott. Well, Luzardo and Arraez, but that's not realistic.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. That's like it's just, and also, do we actually think there's going to be a deal on this? No, I don't think there is. You think there's a better chance? I think I think the Tanner Scott deal makes more sense. I think it would be really. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't say no, because like it's hard to tell, dude. It's hard to tell. I don't think the Padres have the right assets right now to pull it off.
Yeah,
I feel like those two trades I pulled up, one of them, the Padres, the top one, I can pull it up one more time. I think this is roughly like the value of what it will cost, right? I think the Padres say yes to the top one and no to the bottom one. I don't think they are going to want to give up Snelling and Lesko. It's too much of their pitching depth, especially for the future. But if you're the Marlins, maybe you say yes to this one. Maybe. I don't think they do. Like, maybe they do. But the Padres might not even offer this much, to be honest. Like, like that's the thing. Like, I think the Padres say yes to the bottom one. I think they definitely say no to the bottom one. I think this is like what the Marlins would want. Is Luzardo's valuable? Like, and this is the problem with Luzardo. Is he worth it? I don't know if he is. Chase would be like, hell yeah, he's worth it. Blah 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 blah.
I love Luzardo.
And maybe like
yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I was just gonna say, like, Luzardo is also the type of move where, like, if you snag Luzardo, he could just turn into a super dominant starter. That's the thing. It's like that's your lotto pick for the season. The season then rides on your starting pitcher and Luzardo. That's not the worst. That's not the worst idea. That's not the worst idea for where they're at right now. But it might cost a lot. If it doesn't cost that much, I say go for it. Arraez, I think in order of, I'll say it like this. This is the last thing I'll say, and then we can probably bounce. I think in order, Scott is the biggest need, cheapest too, makes most sense, and then it's Luzardo, and then it's Arraez. But Arraez is going to cost a whole lot less than Luzardo.
Yep, exactly.
Which is kind of crazy because like he is the batting champion. He's coming off that season. Like that's a little weird, but that's how he's going to be valued around the league. I'm pretty sure.
Because control plays a huge part in this. Cheap control plays a huge part in this. And that's why Luzardo is so expensive.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I'm interested to see what everyone thinks, but I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts on just this trade rumors? Because I think they make a lot of sense, though. Like, I think it makes a ton of sense. A lot of times you'll hear stuff and we're like, dude, it's not even worth talking about. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. No, they make. I mean, the moves make a ton of sense. This is a team that I think, as a channel, we've been targeting the Marlins all off season. We've wanted to be trade partners with the Marlins all off season because it just makes so much sense. Now it's for different guys because I mean the Marlins have started 0-7. They don't look like a good baseball team. I don't think they're going to be a good baseball team for a little while. So I can't imagine they're going to be the type that suddenly isn't willing to give up these guys. But hey, if you're the Padres and you're going to make this trade, you do it sooner rather than later. You do it maybe now because like I just don't understand the point of waiting. The roster you have right now might not even make it past or make it to the trade deadline still in contention. Might. I'm not saying they won't. I mean, you look at their schedule, it's a little tough. It gets easier in June, but there is a possibility this roster does not make it to the trade deadline less than 5 games back. And you eliminate that risk by making an early season trade. You eliminate losing every 5th game by making an early season trade for these guys. You eliminate having to give incredibly valuable at-bats to Tyler Wade. Not Higgy. Higgy's going to get his at-bats, but Tyler Wade, Eggy Rosario, whoever else comes to mind that you think sucks. Speaking of which, I'm in hell every time I see Xander Bogaerts at the plate with runners in scoring position. For those of you who think singles are cool, you must have been around in the 90s because I'm not okay with just seeing 9 hits, 9 singles, and like a 650 OPS. I'm just not cool with it. But anyway, back to what we were discussing. You know, I think the if they're gonna do this, just do it now because I don't want to be out of a playoff spot by the All-Star break or by the trade deadline because again, you're just giving up games by having the 28th ranked bullpen, by having your 5th starter be a knuckleballer that throws it like 4% of the time, and even when he does throw it, come on, let's be real.
Dude, he threw it a lot more last game.
It's not good.
He did get some swings and misses towards the end, but a couple of those balls were absolutely
Dude, they were mashed, just destroyed. So it doesn't look anything like it does in MLB The Show. And I just, I think this gives the Padres the best opportunity to win right now. Go win, secure a playoff spot, and gear up for a run.
And that's what we want to see. I feel like Isaac and I have been texting like the whole time, just like, dude, this has been, we're starting to freak out a little bit, man. We're starting to freak more than ever. Okay, let me ask you this. And I don't mean to be negative to people, but I think everyone's feeling this, to be honest. Like it's been so disappointing. And like a lot of people, I mean, if you're on YouTube listening to Padres stuff, you're a big Padres fan, like, so you've seen these like, just like gut wrenching seasons where it's like, is it going to get better, man? Like, cause that's how it's felt. The championship series run was awesome. So we got that little taste, but it's like, dude,
I need it back.
Yeah, man. Like, it's just like, oh my God. Like, so it's been rough, but like we've just been texting like, dude, this is like, I'm getting so upset. And like towards the end of last year, I mean, you were definitely the same boat. Like, we haven't been upset watching the Padres in like a while. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's probably like, when was the last time you were actually upset? Like, not really September, like maybe like August last year, where it was like, damn, it's going to be done.
It's over. Yeah.
It was probably August.
Yeah, it was already over. It felt over. That's when the last time I was like a little optimistic, but very upset. Now I'm just upset. I'm not even optimistic. I'm just upset.
Yeah. And it's just because it's also like, look, like guys can surprise you. I know you brought up Tyler Wade and like he has good numbers and stuff, but like we just seen what's happened with a lot of these teams lately. So it's just like, it's hard, dude. It's hard to stay positive right now. This would help, right? If you have Luzardo and he's just nasty. I think one thing that's been good is the starting pitching is going to come around.
Yeah.
Musgrove looked good. They're gonna all look better. Like King's gonna improve. They're all gonna improve. The first 4. But the bullpen is the part where it's like, dude, we've seen these bad bullpens before. It's not fun. But yeah, I think that's one thing that Chase and I'll talk about too when we record it in a couple of days. Is how the Padres can fix their bullpen, because there's a few things they can do that will help it a lot. Because they have the wrong guys in there. Let's just be honest, they have the wrong guys in there.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, all right, guys, that's gonna do it. Thanks for tuning in for the trade stuff, and yeah, we'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Peace.